All right, we're rolling. Welcome, everybody. Today is September 26th, 2018. This is the Cloud Provider vSphere biweekly call. Meeting is recorded, blah, 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 usual stuff. Today we have a pretty light agenda, but it's a very big item on it, which is the update on the CI system. We've been working on that for the past, well, Andrew and Hui and other people have been working on that for a long time. And I think we reached the point where we actually have a working system. Andrew, do you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, I just filed the PR. I'll share it here. Let's see. Yeah, I just filed the PR. I need to refile it or resync it, I think. I don't know why it's got this old commit in it. But yeah, so for now, the time being, we are going to use Travis CI to provide the signal for for testing. Sorry, for distributing images as well as for running E2E conformance tests. And we actually have since, I think, Monday or Tuesday, had the distribution of the images, just so people know where they are. They are in a bucket, I believe, called, I don't remember what I called that bucket. They are available at, and you got to look here, container registry, vSphere Cloud Controller Manager, and you can pull an image with show pull. I don't know why they hide the pull command. gcr.io, Cloud Provider vSphere, vSphere Cloud Controller Manager. That is that happens. That gets pushed on every commit to master. And we are going to some outstanding items that we'll work on next quarter for this. Right now, there is a hash for every image, but I want to add support for annotated tags, you know, like Simver, so that when we do encounter a build with an annotated tag, that it uses that or in addition to the hash. We are also going to be marking a hash here soon with an out of sync or an out of domain. It's not going to be in the domain of Simver, but just something like working, or tested, just so that we know if we're doing our own tests or others, like this has been tested until we start doing the more versioned ones. The actual test results.
Do we still have our latest tag on? Yes.
Yeah, that happens every time.
Yeah.
That's actually the one we're pushing. Our test results are actually available, and we filed a PR this morning to test grid for the out of tree results. The in-tree results are available as well, but I need to file that PR yet. That's not necessarily germane to this call, but it's all kind of related. The out of tree results are available here. Head, by the way, represents in this bucket, K8 Conformance Cloud Provider vSphere. Head represents the version of the cloud provider. I think there's going to be, I'm going to instigate an upcoming discussion in SIG testing. There really isn't a matrix for compatibility. It's all just based on KK head. But, you know, what if we have Cloud Provider 1 and we still want to test against newer versions of Kubernetes? None of the results really, the test grid doesn't really have that capability without having a huge flat list of pairs or even tuples or triples. So this kind of mimics the Kubernetes releases. So release, we're testing it against 110, 111, and 112, and as well as CI latest. And again, Hui has filed that PR, and just since people are on the call, I'll be following the PR that tests it against, again, the same things, 111 and 112. 110 for entry failed because it timed out during a Nginx test. I got to work on that. But yeah, so Travis runs those builds. Or let me just bring that up so people can see it. I learned that Travis now supports if conditions, and I got a little crazy with them. So Travis, on every PR, will do a build in a container. So it's pretty quick. It kind of overlaps what Prow is already doing, but it's sort of free, so why not use it? And then on all commits to master, it will do a deploy the images. And I generated these things that I'm calling like commit message triggers. If you're in this owner's environment variable, you can always instigate a deploy with a CI deploy flag in the message. And finally, conformance testing happens on all pushes to master, as well as a cron job on Travis that we will set up. So we'll have daily conformance testing as well as conformance tests on all commits to master. Yeah, and it's for 112, 111, and 110. And CI latest, sorry. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's it. So by the end of the day, I mean, like I said, we submitted the test, the prowl spec for AutoTree, because we had the results there manually. And then after this call, Fabio, I guess we can look at that. I'll resolve why that PR has 2 commits, and then I'll ping you on it and hopefully get that merged.
Yep. I think there's a very last thing we have to change. Right now, the current manifest that we have on the repo are pointing to, I think they're still pointing to Docker Hub somehow, I think.
No, I changed that.
Already?
I changed that a while back. But let me verify that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that I had a whole commit just for that, or a whole pull request just for that. Default to GCRIO image registry. Yeah.
No, I meant not the make file. I meant literally the manifest that we
Oh, that
provide the users.
manifest. Yeah. So yeah. So but Yakatui is pointing to this. So I didn't consider your manifest. And it's not clear. Like, I think I brought this up in our last internal meeting. If we want people pulling down those manifests directly because they're not particularly portable, or we want people just kind of creating their own. So
Well, those are like to be used as like either as a
examples.
base or an example, or even like an easy button to deploy and test the waters, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that should absolutely be updated. I just didn't consider that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I'll file
So
an
yeah,
issue for that and get out of the way.
just since we're here, the things that have happened the last couple of days, that has been updated. So make push images. You have to have rights on that registry. However, I believe that I did make it so that if there is no key file and gcloud isn't present, it will. Yeah. So if there's no key file and it doesn't detect the gcloud commands, so if not equal find string in the registry. No, if it's the registry is not GCRIO, it defaults to Docker. That's what it is. So you can still override the registry and push to Docker very easily. I didn't want to prevent people from doing that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. And we're approaching, I think release day is tomorrow, unless it slips another time.
I like to make an entrance at the 11th hour. But yeah, so in SIG testing or the Slack earlier this week, Eric actually did review some of the work I'd done and said, basically, you kind of mimicked Prowl here a little bit based on the way I'm doing the testing. So, but that's good because the goal is to get it into Prowl. So the fact that I accidentally, I can't claim to have done it on purpose, I just didn't know it well enough. But since I accidentally kind of mimicked the same workflow, the image that we use to actually do the testing will be able to be scheduled on the Prowl system. So I mean, what I'm doing in Travis is essentially taking this image and saying up, test, log the tests, and then upload them and down. I'll be able to do an image based on this and just say up, test, run the log, and then instead of uploading them, Hippie can tell me if I have this right, that the job spec provides you an artifact directory into which you just put the artifacts, and then Prowl handles the upload for you. Yeah. Yep. And I really was hoping to do all that this week, but I know that we have to get them credentials for things, and I'm not really sure of that process. And this was in my own hands and wasn't an asynchronous process for the most part. So all I can control is my time. I didn't want to necessarily. We're supposed to stop for today and then concentrate on end of quarter stuff. So I needed to get this done.
Cool stuff. Yeah, just approved the PR, so we should get the first conformance, in the bucket soon.
Well,
okay,
they're already there. They're already there because they're based on timestamps. And again, Hippie, I think that's right. Is that correct? They're based on timestamps so that, you know, you can have multiple conformance tests running from multiple places. So that, yeah, the tests are already there, but yeah, this will just be new ones. And by the way, like I need to, I don't know, I need to send Travis CI a cake because Hippie, you probably saw this in SIG testing, but I had all this working and it was timing out. Turns out public builds or public jobs are limited to 50 minutes. Builds can be unlimited, but individual jobs have to be 50 minutes. And I did some crazy stuff to split that up, tail it across 5 different jobs. So,
it might be interesting to spend some time pairing on the prow bits and specifically working to have a separate prow area to experiment so that we can bring up, for example, I'm looking long-term to bring up something like prow.cncf.io, but there's no reason you couldn't have a prow.vmware. something.
Yeah, so I mean, I literally, in Yakutui, created an E2E namespace in Kubernetes to run this job, and I realized at that point, oh, I am doing basically prow. So yes, I probably would have started with prow locally. I like installing things locally, but as you know, and Ben will say, it's not the easiest thing to sort of get your mind around.
It's useful when you're pairing with someone who's done it before, and I'm trying to pair with people who've done it before and in turn pair with others so we can have this chain of pairs with high availability.
Happy to accept your help if you're offering. Yeah, I think we'd love to get it up, and I think that Steve and others would argue that maybe they don't necessarily want to be the signal for all Kubernetes related repos, especially if there's a large enough org that has enough repos run their own prow, right? Like for us, the most important, and Fabio could please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but for us, really the most important thing is we want the workflow to stay the same for people. We want them to be able to use the same retest, you know, commands and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
There are other things around having multiple prowls that I've thought about, not necessarily doing all the managing of the repos. If we can find a way where we distribute our events coming from GitHub, everybody could, on the same PR, have their own opinion of what their prowl jobs did in creating and have a.
I remember when you brought that up and somebody said, so we just like resending events, and I think that got tabled for then, but.
It did. I'm still have thoughts in the air around that style of things. There's another tool that's coming out from Google. It was on testing for a while back from Ofer over in Israel, and it's a multi-repo hosted agnostic pull request tool.
Yeah, he demoed that last week.
Yeah, right? And seeing that style of things where possibly prow can interact with those PRs longer term, right? And those also be distributed. And anyway, these are probably not this call, but I just wanted to offer my time for doing prow type things in a more distributed and more people using it way.
Thank you, because that's definitely our target for next quarter.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, that was the only thing we had on the agenda this week. So, is there anybody who wants to discuss anything? We don't have many issues open in the repo. I guess that the focus will be to kind of iron out some bugs coming out of people testing this. Now we have a CI working, so potentially we can start adding more tests and everything. I think we have a couple of issues open for that already.
Actually, I had one thing that Hippie could help us with potentially. Hippie, do you have the ability to ask Aaron to please approve TravisCI.com to be, because we own the repo for cloud provider vSphere, but actually had to use TravisCI.org because it can still use the old hook and service method, but .com is one of the new GitHub apps, and they're moving to that. I don't know when they're going to EOL the old one.
The ask is please configure the Travis.com GitHub app for your repo.
Pretty much, yeah. I think actually, I think I sent out the request to add Travis CI to Kubernetes as an org, and it's sitting in someone's mailbox. Like there should be an email saying, just somebody requested to add Travis CI to the Kubernetes org. Please approve or decline. And I think it's sitting in somebody's mailbox and not being paying
And I
attention.
could see why they would say like, oh, we have proud and all that. But the thing is if we're going to have repos in the Kubernetes org, and people, I think SIG testing has in the past encouraged people to just manage their own CI when it's appropriate. But if they want to use Travis now, you can't. Not
Yeah.
easily.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those things where I'm trying to figure out how, because we're dependent upon the webhook, basically, or the integration with the org, trying to find a way where we can have multiple. In this example, for example, you get this org, and you're trying to use the plugin with Travis to be able to have, I don't know if it's a mirror org or something. But yes, the short answer is yes, I'll ask. But
Well, it's not a webhook anymore. They have these new things called we're using the webhook and it works. They have these new things called GitHub apps, and I'm not entirely sure how they're different, but yeah.
Because basically what happens is that the old integration method is literally just creating a webhook on the repo. And
Yeah,
if you
and that
have
works.
admin access on the repo, it doesn't matter if you're not an admin of the org. If you're admin of the repo, it's fine. You just add a webhook and Travis is fine. But now they require you to have permission from the org admin to have the application set up. And so you'll be able to use that application on your single repo that you're admin for.
Right. And it's probably a permissions and a yeah, see that.
It absolutely is, but the thing is that we know somebody has already been granted perms, because when we went and looked at what apps were enabled, Slack was enabled for Kubernetes org. So somebody approved the Slack app. So
You know what? SIG, because Contrabex is right now overlapping with this call. It might be good we can pop over there, because this is kind of I don't know if it's a contributor experience or something. I know that the who to talk to and like how orgs are managed. I guess that is it is Aaron. I'm trying to find where we're in the process of creating a org curation group or something, but I don't remember the details off the top of my head.
if it's Aaron, I can reach out and raise the subject with him.
We can also ping Tim Pepper. I think Tim Pepper has been pretty active on SIG Contrabacks. So maybe if SIG Contrabacks is the right forum to discuss this, maybe
it feels right, because we're needing the experience of being able to integrate continuous integration. I mean, at some point, I'd love to do the skit, but with a little more prep than 5 minutes.
Totally understand. All right. That was great. Anyone has anything else to add? Otherwise, we can.
I'm gonna submit another PR here in about 5 minutes to update the. We'll wait till these finish and then I'll submit it. I just realized I'm using the build number to make those names unique, but the build number would not be unique across repos. So we could have an issue where my fork does something that overlaps with the primary. That's it. Right. So just expect that later today, Fabio. I'll submit it, but let's not approve it until the current job's finish.
This is really beautiful work. I know that you've got lots of things going on, but it would be an interesting thing to have a blog post or some write-up, because you've gone through a journey that there is a lot of knowledge to be imparted and pathways to suggest. That would be amazing for folks. I'm trying to get my head around your journey by just poking my head in enough, but it's super valuable.
I mean, let's have a chat sometime. Yeah, I'm happy to tell you where I went and whatnot, and some of it will be like people were too busy to help. So it's like, oh, how do I figure this out on my own? And sometimes working with what you know is easier, or when we have time constraints. So then trying to do a dense jungle.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Hippie.
All right, folks. I'll give everybody back 5 minutes. Have a good rest of the day.
Shalom.